Hello, everybody. Welcome. It is Oracle Live TV, and I'm your host, Leah Dunlap. I'm so excited to be here tonight. We are really excited for our guests that are coming on tonight, but we're really excited for you to be here too. So the first thing I want to say is that you are welcome here. Your questions are welcome here, and we really do try to save some time at the end of the show for those questions. So if you're watching this right now, say hello. Let us know where you're coming and calling in from. I'm really excited because tonight we have some special guests, one who's right now in the green room, ready in just a moment to speak to us all. And again, as you come in, do say where you're from. Let me know what your question is, and you can just type Q&A and the question, and we'll go from there. So, like I said, I am Leah Dunlap, the Oracle on Purpose. I have been a intuitive business architect for about 25 years now, celebrating 25 years in business. And today I guide light-bearing leaders and entrepreneurs so that they can stop wasting money, energy, and time chasing down all kinds of different marketing strategies and instead create a powerhouse business that is designed around their unique life purpose and their business genius. My direct connection with the Oracle allows me to help my clients quickly get out of that overwhelm and sustain a business practice that is thriving and self-supporting. I found out about 6 months ago now, last October, that the Oracle had an even bigger project for me. When I was recently in the Mary Magdalene Caves in the south of France, I received a huge download that I would be helping thousands of light-bearing leaders come and bring their services and products to the world so that they could have the impact they were meant to be making in the world. And with that, Oracle Live TV was born so that I could reach more people and help more people and share the message of the Oracle with those who really need it most. That being said, I'm really excited for our guest tonight. Our first guest is Jen Tasman. And what's great, I really love the fact that not only is Jen a spiritual teacher and business mentor, but Jen and I have this great little story where we actually bumped into each other after quite a long time of seeing each other online and other places in a San Francisco airport when we were both coming back to Portland. So it was really exciting. So I'm going to bring Jen on in just a moment and let her tell you a little bit about herself. Right before I do that, I want to go ahead and share a little thing that we are doing now, which is really fun. And it allows us to really kind of give you guys the chance to be engaged and involved in the process. So we are actually giving away something a little special tonight. It's a journal that comes with some really great tools, a pen, and some little tabs that you'll get if you win it. How do you win it? What we're trying to do, of course, with everything Facebook is to bring people inside the room, because when you're outside, we can't see you. We can't hear your questions. So the thing that I'd like you to do is, if you're watching this right now and somebody has invited you to this, right? They've sent you a link somehow, and you are not in this room, in the Be Live room, we can't see your questions and we can't see your comments. So what you need to do is, if it says watch party, go to the first link. It should be pinned at the top, and it will give you access into the room. Once you're in there, type the word #insight. I'll show you what I mean. #insight. And then as you're listening and you're following along with these great stories that we're going to hear in a few moments, you can just click on #insight. Type #insight, and then tell me what's the idea, what's the concept, what's the point someone just made, or the insight the Oracle gave that really stood out for you. And at the end of the show, we'll be scaling through all of those insights, and I will pick a lucky winner to take home that lovely journal package. So right now, we're going to go ahead and bring on our first guest. And I'll give her a moment as I'm talking, letting her come in there. There she is. Wonderful. Yay.
Hello.
Thank you so much for being here, Jen. Why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, my name is Jen Tasneem, and I am a student of Sufism. So if people are wondering where Tasneem comes from, that is the name that my spiritual teacher gave me. And I have been in the healing field for over 20 years, started my journey as an intuitive massage therapist, and then moved into a spiritual healer. and I've now found my way into business mentorship, helping other spiritual entrepreneurs overcome their fear of visibility so that they can really contribute their gifts and share their voice with the world.
Amazing. And one of the things I know that I think this is how we met the very first time was you were really working with speakers to really speak about what they were doing. Tell me, is that something you're currently working on? I know that was a project that you were working on back, gosh, it's been a few years.
It's been a couple of years. Yeah, I was actually, so Casey Baker had the Women Speak. It's her business, Women Speak. And I was a facilitator of that work for 2 years. And it's interesting. I just wrapped that up at the end of last year. So December was my last group. And part of what I'm curious about is sort of where my work is taking me. And, what I was really drawn to being in this inquiry with you is because we can do a lot of things doesn't mean we should. And how do we really hone in on and I help my clients with this, right? It's like the thing we most want to do or would bring us the most joy or the most resources is the thing we tend to be the most afraid to engage in or participate in sometimes. And so I'm kind of in my own inquiry I've been doing a lot of different things and helping in a lot of different ways, and would love to be a little bit more on purpose as this year continues to unfold. So that's part of what brought me here tonight.
I love it. Well, I appreciate your taking the time. I think so many of us just push and push and push, and it's great to hear that you step back and gave yourself permission to step back and look deeper. And it's, I always say there's never any accident with the Oracle. Like I was thinking as I said that to you, like that happened a long time ago. Why am I even asking her about that? I'm like, oh, of course.
It's all perfect. Well, and it's how we met. So that's beautiful. It had to happen.
Yes, exactly. And it's something that I think is interesting to share with those who are watching the replay as well. For me, when the Oracle doesn't go away, like some people think that, like I don't call the Oracle. She literally stays on my shoulder 24/7, sometimes really 24/7.
Like I'm trying to sleep here.
I had a client, in fact, one time who I told in the morning I had this really intense, thing that woke me up in the middle of the night. I was like, wow, it was so vivid. And I couldn't place where it would have been for me. And yet I was talking to a client the next day.
And it's a perfect message, right?
Oh, it's not for me. It's for you. And I said, okay. I'm like, all right, well, if it's not for me, their time is this time. And
yeah. Well, that's what I tell my clients. I'm just like, we're on the phone for an hour every week. And I promise you, I will be engaged on your behalf at other times.
Isn't that true? It is so true. It is so very true. Like I work with some clients one-on-one and we spend a lot of time together. We meet 3 times a week. So, I mean, it's a whole year. And, I know that that's a big part of it. Like we carry them with us. And it's a big honor to do that. And it's a lot of work.
It is.
And so again, like just when you said that, I was just like, oh, it's so great to hear you honoring your own inner voice and your own intuition as to where you want to be going and what you want to be doing. Also, just can I just acknowledge you for reaching out to someone else to say, okay, like maybe I just need some other eyes.
An outside perspective, please. Well, we all need that, right? Because no matter how advanced I am in my own exploration, like we all have our own blind spots, or we need that perspective, which is what makes me a great mentor. I can provide that for somebody else, and I also need that for myself. So,
and you take advantage of it, which I think is really true. Yeah. And as you know, it's interesting as you said that, for me, when the Oracle makes herself known, and especially when we're tapping into what, as the conversation goes, when we're on track, I get what I call the full body flush. So as you're speaking about the mentorship piece for you, I'm getting a really full body flush of acknowledgement that that's a core place for you to stand. Mm-hmm. I'm also getting the question of when you're looking at the roads in front of you, which of those gives you the most opportunity to be in that position, do you think?
Well, and part of my question for you is, I don't know, I have two children.
Uh-huh.
And I'm just going to give a little backstory. Is like, I
Sure.
always joke about, I extended breastfeeding and I slept with, co-slept with my kids. And I'm like, I'm an accidental attachment parent. Like, I never envisioned this would be how I would raise my children. I didn't even know it was a thing. And it turns out it was a thing, right? And so I often say I'm an accidental business coach. Like, I had absolutely zero intention. And I have a background in marketing because I was in the spa industry. So I have the knowledge. And then when I stopped doing body work, I had to figure out what is this next period of time for me. And it was really about spiritual teaching. It's really about creating that deeper connection, helping you quiet the voices, tap into your own heart wisdom, and figure out a way to move that forward. And all of a sudden I'm like, oh, well, I need to figure out how to market this online if I'm not going to see each other. I had two small kids. If I'm not going to be doing body work in person, what are these next steps for me? And so I spent like 2 or 3 years just studying online marketing. And then all of a sudden I had all of these healers and all of these coaches and all of these spiritual based entrepreneurs saying, hey, can you help me write my opt-in gift, or help me, like, how do I link up my newsletter? And so it's like, oh, people just are paying me money for this. This is interesting. And I keep supporting and helping and creating programs. And so I'm sort of in this like 5 years in to be like, oh, I'm mentoring this very specific person at a very specific stage of their business. And it's all about the inner transformation coupled with some marketing stuff. But for me, I'm like, where is that like spiritual teacher? Like, is this like am I, because I always used to joke that I want to be the Sufi version of Deepak Chopra, the female Sufi version of Deepak Chopra, right? Like, I want to center, I want to be teaching about like honoring the path of your heart and speaking about the evolution of consciousness and where we are in that. And, I have a pretty profound story about my partner passing away, which was how my spiritual awakening happens. And so I'm just like kind of scratching my head of like, okay, I've never marketed. It's all word of mouth. People just keep coming to me and I keep doing this amazing work with them. And I love it and I'm good at it. And where's the spiritual teacher piece? Where is this like really being a mentor for transformation? And because that's the work ultimately I'm doing in the business stuff. So those are my questions of, do I just stay on this track and keep working with entrepreneurs who have a mission and a vision? Or is this a stepping stone on the puzzle to me really honoring and putting together this teaching and bringing forth this knowledge I've gathered over 25 years of my own personal awakening experience?
Well, it's interesting because there are these layers. So if you're watching this now and you've never watched the show before or never seen me speak before, what I will warn everybody, including Jen, is that the Oracle can be kind of snarky. She has a bit of a tude. I say sometimes, I'm like, wow. And I always end up feeling like I'm translating like from like this sentient being that has no boundaries sometimes. Like, okay, but this is a human being we're talking to, so we have to kind of look at this. But the thing that came really clearly was this question, like, what makes you think that's not it? Like, what makes you think that what you're doing isn't being a spiritual teacher right now?
Right. Well, and I think it's not that I don't think I am. It's that I have a body of work that I feel been coming through me, like really about the phases that we go through as human beings on our path of awakening. And I broke it down in sort of a garden metaphor, but it's really like the survival, the striving, and the thriving, and how veiled we are or how veiled our heart is. Our light is always shining. We're always the divine being we were created to be. And that always shines, but we don't always have access to it based on our DNA, what we inherit, our familiar patterns, our life experiences, the judgments and perceptions we have about who we are. And so for me, it's like that feels like a bigger body of work than sort of helping somebody figure out how to market their program. Or, you know what I mean? So for me, it feels, I'm not doing the work. I'm not teaching what I know in a very succinct way or giving people access to these nuggets of wisdom if it's not in a one-on-one session in this kind of business coaching, mentoring arena. Does that make sense?
Yes, and I'm going to ask a follow-up question to confirm it.
Yes.
That's always like I've gone on tangents before, and then I'm like the computer will shut down because it's like, no, that's not what we're talking about. We don't want that. So as I'm hearing you speak, the thing that, and this is again like one of those just processing things for me, is like there is this sense of you, this body of work you're talking about. It's like what I got from that and what I heard, so I want to make sure that I'm relaying this correctly, is that the phrase, it's like you're not, it's almost like the tip of the iceberg, right? Like you're not really being able to go into the depth of what you have to offer. And so there's part of it's feeling like left unfulfilled in the work.
Yeah, if I could just it's like doing the transformation itself, which is what I love to do. It's the actual healing process. I think the part that's missing is the teaching. And if you're not engaged in a one-on-one experience with me, there's still a way you could be learning or drinking from the well, so to speak. But I just don't have that set up in my current system because I'm just doing one-on-one coaching with people right now, or mentoring or healing, in this business kind of capacity.
And it's framed in the business framework. So you're kind of having to fit that into, I mean, it's there.
Well, it's who you are and where you're showing up and what are you bumping up against as we take your business to the next level. It's not having a more generic or general conversation of you as a human being is on a journey. Where are you? And how do you move forward in that? What do you bump up against as you start to move forward? So it's more of a in the trenches of a specific business. Why aren't you getting your opt-in done? Right. What's going on? Like, we had these things you agreed to do and you're not doing them. What's going on? Right. Rather than just like, oh, you're going to come as a spiritual seeker to learn something new about your journey to take you to the next level. Does that make sense?
It does. And so then the question really is, what I'm hearing is, how do you, in a way, broaden that reach and also expand the lesson? Right. Yeah.
And do I keep it in the capacity of entrepreneurs and what they bump up against and what I'm learning about that? Or is it a more of a human being generalist? We're all on this journey. Where are you on your path?
Yeah, it's interesting because as I look at that scale, as you say that, the lit up part is the entrepreneurs. And it's almost as if, but it's, so there are two. I'm like, okay, so we're holding them. And yes, the entrepreneur is also an individual. She's really intense about that. Like,
yeah, it's not a separate, right.
Yeah. So the thing she wants you to know is you're already doing the work. If the question is, how do you expand to reach more people with the broader message, then the thing that I see is really kind of it's either book to online program or online program and book, or combination of thereof, because they're both floating like this.
Right. Well, okay. So the book, right? How do I tell my story, and what is that? And I've wondered about that component.
Yeah.
too.
So it's like the book is they go together in that you're writing the book to create the program. They support each other because they literally
like
just
the messages and two different like things of the.
But it makes just this logical sense to do the book first, and then you have the program which is based by the book. So it's but they're
as writing the book, the program modules find their way out or whatever, right?
Yeah. So it's like these two things, but it's like I think once you set the tone of writing the book, then the rest of it will all start to flow together, and that will give you the outlet. And then you reach the people and you reach the entrepreneur. So it's like I think the thing there is, oh, that's interesting. So I'm getting a lot of tension in my jaw right here, my tightness. So I'm just wanting you to hear that, and for you, what that means. I feel like you know what that means.
Spit it out, girl.
Yeah, it's just like, yeah. So it's time to say the thing. Does that land?
Yeah, very much so.
Okay, good. Yeah. So that's what the book is. Say the
time.
Thing.
Yeah.
It's time to say the thing. And that will lead to the program that leads, like, there, it's all going to be interwoven. But it is time.
Yeah. Thank you.
You're so welcome. Yeah. And I'm just getting like the sense from my side that that's what needed to come through.
Yeah.
Yeah. And if there's any question, it's over here. There's this question that I'm hearing of, will the boys be okay? They'll be fine. So.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I appreciate it.
Yes. Thank you so much. So much for being here. So grateful you stepped up to be number one. I'm always really excited for the first person because I'm like, I know we're starting this out and you don't really know what's going to happen. And so I just know and honor you for just being brave and bold and stepping forward. And I appreciate your being here to share who you are and what you're doing. And I'm excited to hear what happens next.
Me too. Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Thank you very, very much. All right. And as you can see, the Oracle likes to give me lots of feedback all the time in a myriad of ways. And I have learned over the years that it's really important for me to stay as present as I can in these sessions so that whatever the message is, even if it doesn't make sense to me, it makes sense to the person that I'm speaking to. And ultimately, that's the important piece. And speaking of messages, I don't know if you're watching now or if you're watching the replay, feel free to share what insights you got as we were talking, as the Oracle was talking to Jen and as Jen was sharing her piece. I think that a lot of times we don't realize that other people's journeys can be such a great example or also some inspiration as to what we could do in our own lives and our own businesses. So thank you all for being here. I see some people have showed up. So thanks if you're here, say hello. The word that we're using tonight, if you joined us last week, you saw that we did a fun little giveaway, and tonight we're doing another one. So the word for tonight to join the giveaway is #insight, #insight, and then just put whatever insight you found from whatever we're talking about, and we'll go ahead at the end of the call and we'll pull somebody's name off that list, and you'll get a beautiful journal with a pen and some really great little tabs. It's like a whole little kit, because one of the things that I share with all of my clients, and I've been doing literally for 25 years, is writing a daily journal. My journal is a gratitude journal. I write it every night, at least 10 things that I'm grateful for. And I really tap into, like, it helps me tap in not only obviously to my own life and what's going on in it, but it allows me to really deepen my appreciation for what I do have and what I'm hopeful to have come in the future. So I wanted to go ahead and share that goodness, which is why we're giving away journals, if you're wondering. And so yes, #insight with whatever insight kind of comes to your mind. Be crazy. Don't worry about it. You can say as many insights as you'd like, and we'll, like I said, we'll pull somebody's name at the end of this. The other thing I wanted to mention in regards to that is we are going to be saving some time at the end of the call so that you can actually ask your own questions, and you don't have to wait. So if you've just come on and you've just joined us and you have a question to share, please go ahead and enter it in. I want to just give a shout out to my beautiful assistant, who is amazing and always at my back. You won't ever see her, right? She's like Wilson from that movie, Across the Neighborhood Fence, right? But she's amazing. Her name is Jen, and she's actually in the background here making sure that everything's going as smoothly as possible. And what she will do is take your question and make sure we see it on the end of the screen, on the screen at the end of the show. So you can go ahead and enter your questions now. Just put Q&A and whatever your question is. Or again, join in on the fun and go ahead and put whatever insights you have. And at the end of the show, we'll pull a name and a winner. All right. I'm getting really excited now because our next guest is someone I truly adore and I've known now for a few years. But what I appreciate most is that he has a huge and compassionate heart. And he is Storm Arcana. And Storm is getting ready backstage to show up here and talk with all of you about the wonder and magic that he is. He is an intuitive visionary coach and founder of Arcana Academy. He's a wizard, writer, and a coach whose deep compassion for the world is breathtakingly beautiful to me. And I'm really just very honored to call him friend and colleague. So without further ado, I'm going to bring Storm on. Hi, Storm. Welcome.
Hi, Leah. I'm so
glad.
excited to be here.
Why don't you tell us a little bit more about who you are and what you're up to right now?
Okay. My work revolves around two questions. What story are you telling yourself? And is it creating the life that you want? Because I believe that the story that you tell yourself is the story that you end up living. And my work is to support my clients to tell better stories and to live them. That's my mission. That's what I'm here for. So I do that as a coach, I do that as a storyteller, and I do that as a magician or wizard, if you prefer that better. What I'm working on right now, in addition to working with my clients one-on-one, I have some workshops that I'm working on called Legendary Love Story, and one's for women, one's for gay men, and it's about that storytelling. It's focused mostly through the lens of relationships, but I know. As someone who's been a reader for, since I was 13, but professionally for the last 10 years, that the question that we're asking is usually the preamble to a question beneath the surface. And I'm sure you relate to that too. There's always something behind that or something deeper that we can go into. And so these workshops are created to create, I haven't really done a lot of group programs yet, and I haven't done a lot of, my work's always been very one-on-one, very tailored to the client. And I'm doing my best right now to share more beyond the Wizard Tower, and have more access to the Wizard Tower. It used to be a wizard curtain, now it's a tower. Yeah, I speak in metaphor because that's the best way to tell stories, and that's what I learned through working with the Tarot, is metaphor. And I went to school for writing, I had my MA and my MFA in writing, and I feel like I'm just now starting to integrate and holistically bring together, synthesize the part of me that's the writer, part of me that's the magician or wizard, the part of me that's the coach, and really braid them together and represent them. And so I'm really excited about that.
I love it. And I'm really excited about it too. And one of the things I know about you that I think when I found out, I was like, oh my God, so lots of us write, many of us write. But tell me more about where writing started for you.
Oh, that's a really good question. Writing, I was a sick kid. I was in bed a lot. I had pneumonia like 9 times before I was 9. And writing for me was an escape, just like reading. Stories took me out of the physicality of whatever pain or trauma that I was in, and they gave me a lifeline. And then I decided that these stories were limiting. I didn't see myself in them, and so I wanted to create stories for myself. And that led to me drawing comic books for myself and writing short stories for myself. And it led to me creating a fantasy world that I'm still working on right now. And my goal is to combine gaming and role playing with coaching, so I can take people into that world. That's something that I'm looking forward to. Part of my question, I think, today, I'm not for sure, but I think it's part of where I definitely know in 3 months I want to be offering that as a program. And right now I'm focusing on the 2 workshops, but I also have some work around what it means to be other, and whether that's queer, or whether that's non-binary, or whether that's being a woman, or whether that's being of color. Where's my story? Where am I represented? And I empower my clients to tell those stories, so they can bring that representation to the world. I have an idea for an anthology where my clients could, publish those stories eventually, because memoir is so personal. But when you share your memoir story, it no longer has hold on you. It's no longer,
Mm.
it's not a secret anymore. And it empowers you to be your more authentic self. So stories, writing, journaling, like you talked about your gratitude journal, I do that too. At the beginning of the day, it's like, how do I want to feel today? What energy am I bringing to the table? What do I want to receive at the end of it? I write those things down, and at the end of the day, I look and see like how well I did, or what showed up and interrupted that process.
Right.
Um, so many
I think
things
that's a
do.
great thing. So it's interesting as you're speaking, there is a sense about the not only the work that you're doing, but also there is this attachment to the writing piece of it that I see as a flow through what you're doing. And interestingly enough, the story of writing story, that's what I'm hearing. The story of writing
Mm,
story is the thread line of how people play in your field. So it's interesting because you mentioned, that the idea of you have these projects that you're working on now, and this bigger piece of bringing in the fantasy that it's, there's a part of us rewriting our story. Like, like it's great because Jen is here, and we know that we all have kind of this intuitive side as well, which isn't surprising. I have drawn in more intuitives to come to speak on this show, but there's also this piece of me that says, when you give people not only just permission, but almost like a framework to why we are so wired to have to rewrite the story, like the story and the writing the story, like the work of it, like what the value is of being able to write about it and change how it looks and change the way it's structured, and as we are often meant to say, like reframe it, the story.
hmm
There's this piece. How does that land for, like, there's something about that seems
Well,
really pivotal in how you'll bring it out.
yeah, I think the story of writing story resonates with me quite a bit. When I decided to move to San Francisco from North Carolina, I decided to go to grad school. That was what brought me here. And I got there and they were like, look, your fantasy work that you submitted got you into the program and it's really cool. But it's rather didactic and it's rather black and white. And we want you to write memoir and we want you to write about your real life. And I was like very resistant. I mean, you know how I can get. I was really resistant. And they were like, well, that's what you have to do if you want to do this program. So the writing the story of my life, my actual life, it did make me see where writing the fantasy was healing me in some way in the real, and
Mm.
so my work is the intersection of fantasy and memoir, and I think that makes a lot of, and I think what I got from what you shared was it would behoove me to share that story with the world, as I offer these programs, as I offer people to work with me, I offer space for that, and tell that story. How
Yeah.
did that help me? How was that my lifeline? That's what I'm hearing. Um,
Yeah, it's like there's this, yeah, there's this the word I want to say is solidifying nature about doing it. And I think it's just because, like, even as you were saying before, like the fantasy piece, and even them saying to you, um, we want this instead of that, and that you had to kind of integrate them, but that those who are going to be drawn to work with you will probably be in a similar place where it's like, how do I integrate these pieces?
mhm.
And having that piece of the story up front, and maybe even a bit of like what frames the construct of how you create the program or something. Um, what do you think about kind of almost like, how the word I want to say is like formula, like there's, in gosh, what am I trying to think of it, the sometimes in like writing workshops, they give you a formula or like a start or something of that nature.
Like a writing prompt?
Yeah, like a writing prompt, but this almost seems like maybe it's just the structure of how the program is designed, that there are the pieces of the way your story was done and how you came to do story, that maybe a framework that pulls others in who would then, of course, relate to that for themselves. It's really this interesting loop of like the story within the story around the story that seems to be the driving factor of moving into that role instead of. And then I just got cautioned to be careful not to say instead of what you're doing now. So this may be an adjunct to what you're doing now, or a lead in, like maybe what you're doing now brings people to that next level where they're
Right.
in a way going deeper.
I'm gonna see if I can do some active listening. Does
Sure.
it make sense? Does it make sense to say that my hero's journey about writing can be analyzed to create a structure from which I can share a formula?
Yes, that's kind of what I'm hearing. Or actually more seeing than hearing. So that's why I'm trying to put it together. It's like this box within a box within a box.
Mm-hmm.
And
I love boxes.
The outside story is framing the inside story, which is framing their story, but you're really showing them how they can also do the reverse, right? Like bringing it back out.
Yeah. Yeah, you're making me think of a project that I kind of let go by the wayside a couple of years ago, which talked to, because there were three different fantasy characters that I would embody as a child, and I would ruminate about them, and then I would write about them, and I was working on a comic book about them, and I kind of let that slide. It's interesting you're bringing that back up again, because it was about how it was okay to disassociate as these characters as a child, because they inspired me to live in the real world instead of actually, because people go, oh, it's a fantasy, get your head out of the book, or stop doing that thing, you're not being present. But being away helped me come back and be myself. So I'm getting the loop that I keep seeing a lemniscate while you're
Oh
talking.
yeah. Well,
I keep seeing
that's why I
that.
was saying it was like turning, and maybe that's it. It's this, each of these things is touching the other, but they all have their own space.
And the challenge I feel that you're sharing with me is to tell my story in such a naked way that, yeah, it's a very vulnerable space to come in. Like, this is what I came through. Here's the formula that I worked through. I want to share this formula with you now too. And I know it's vulnerable, but we're going to have fun with this, and it's going to be exciting. And you're going to come out of it knowing yourself better than you do now.
Right. Yeah. And and again, this is always what I love about this show is, here with Jen, we bring in story, and with you, we bring in story. Story is maybe the word for the evening, but I think the beautiful piece of that is that both of you are being asked to be vulnerable in a way. It's like a no holds barred vulnerability.
Right. Right.
It can't be a pretend. It can't be it can't be a story of the story. That's what she's saying. It can't be a story of the story. It has to be the story. Yeah. So when we talk about being vulnerable, that's the piece that is but I think it's beautiful. And I think it's beautiful.
I think it's totally timely.
Yeah. it's like there, because I hear what you're saying too in regards to like you're going to need to ask people to be vulnerable. Like you're going to need them to go there with you. And I think once you go there first as the leader, they'll be ready to go there. Right. And I think that comes back, as even Jen was saying earlier, it's like, how do we market this? How do we, the marketing piece of how you create that structure is not the same as how we hold space, right? So there's how you show up as the leader to hold space and create framework. There's being in the presence of it, in the vulnerability of the real story, and the combination of the way you do that allows for those who are like, wow, that not only does it speak to them, but it also pulls, it kind of automatically attracts from them that thing that they themselves maybe don't even know yet that they have there.
Yeah, I keep wondering if. Go ahead. Yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
No. Please finish your question. It was right there.
I'm just wondering if that's a group. I wonder if that's a group program. Though it's at a monthly group program, and then it lasts for 6 months. And at the end of it, we publish. I edit the book, and because that's what one of my coaches and I were talking about, was like having a writing program. You're working on your stuff, and then I edit the anthology, and then we publish it on Kindle. And you're free from that story. You're free from that secret. Like it's you've shared it with the world, and you can move forward.
Yeah, I mean, I know just personally, that seems really impactful, and I'm definitely getting, interestingly enough, so I'm not sure why, I'm not getting the full body flush. I'm getting what I would consider like a warm fuzzy flush, which means you're close, but not exactly. And I would rather feel like the confidence of that answer is the full body flush. So there's something about it still to be worked on, or to be
embodied. There's something else that needs to be embodied.
Yeah, there's she just wants to say, like, there's the intention for how you do this. So there's a cautionary light around intention. Around if that process. If you go that route, there's like a big cautionary light happening.
I think that's because my happy spot, like that's funny I said safe too, is working with people one-on-one. I love that the most. That's my favorite. But I'm running out of schedule time for that. Like, and I want to reach more people. I do want to reach more people. I have a bigger mission than that. So I'm trying to figure out how that can show up in a group program, but still have a container of safety.
Right. Yeah.
And I think that's the intention. I feel like that's the intentional part that you're talking about.
Yeah, and I think that's it. It's like, if you were to, so first I will say, in regards to group, not group, one-on-one, she's like, that's not gonna, it doesn't preclude you from still working one-on-one. And she said that's just a story you're telling yourself. So
okay, got it.
So there, like, that's done.
Done. Got it.
Done. Like, let that part go. Because that's not what she was talking about, which, like, she'll just keep nagging me until I get to the right thing. So the intentionality is about the work, like the physical thing you make. Okay. So we got the red circle with the slash over, and then we'll sell it on eBay or whatever it was. No.
Got it.
So like,
we let that go.
Yes or no, or it's like so not the focus that
it's not the focus.
Maybe everybody.
Right.
It's almost like everybody gets to take their copy home.
Yeah.
Right.
Of course.
I see that version of that being more aligned.
Yeah.
So there's
I love
something
that.
about. It's just about, I think it goes back to you're saying safety and.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And that intention of what do we do with the work? And it could be that the individuals get to have it. And
they do whatever they want with it.
Whatever they want with it. Right. Yeah.
Right. That's more open-ended. That's more a personal choice. And that's perfect. Right. And I can have, if I want to later, I can have an open call for an anthology, and you could choose it, but it's not part of the program.
Yeah. I don't see this part of the program.
Yay.
That got happy for warm. The fuzzies got warmer. Yeah. So I think it's So there could be two things, but really in regards to the program, it's a closed circuit.
Love it. I love that. Yeah. It's going back to that infinity symbol, how it feeds and supports that loop.
Yeah. And I think that then, of course, when people are sharing it down the line or whatever, they can say it's really this amazing experience that is still in this really nice, safe bubble.
I love that. Awesome.
Thank you. Oh my gosh.
Thank you. I love the story of the story. I love the story of story. Like I love that.
Yeah, I really just like the boxes that were like rolling, but they were boxes inside boxes, like a stacking box system. So
that's my brain. You just tapped into how I think. Thank you, Oracle, for seeing me as the container store that I am.
Your boxes and boxes. The Wizard Box Store. I love it. Okay.
It's true. Thank you so much, Leah. I really appreciate it.
You're so welcome. You're so welcome. Thank you very much for being here. I see we've got a few comments today, so we'll go through those. But I really want to thank both Jen and Storm for being here tonight. It's always amazing to me who shows up, who's present, who gets to share their space. And what I want to say for you, Storm, I know that you were mentioning your programs are live and active now. So if you want to share a little bit about like when those are happening again really quickly. And Jen, if you put it in the comment section, your link again, she can actually post it on the screen for people. So they have it if they're watching now or when they're watching the replay. And I just want to clarify from you that they're the same program, but they're different audiences. Correct?
Yeah, one it's Legendary Love Story. It's a ritual online ritual writing workshop. One container is for women, for people, warrior women. Is how I see it. They're strong, powerful women, and they're wanting to tap into some aspect of their inspiration. And then another one is a container for queer or gay men, however you identify within that space. Because there's different stories that we'll be talking about within those two spaces. And the women's is on May 1st. And the men's is on June 12th. And you can see that on my Facebook page, Storm Arcana, personal page. And you can see it on Instagram at Storm Arcana, all one word. And there's a link in here for the women's as well.
Okay, great.
But you can also do a search for Legendary Love Story, Storm Arcana. It'll come up in Eventbrite.
Awesome. Oh, so it's Eventbrite. Okay, so they can go to Eventbrite, look up Legendary.
Eventbrite. Legendary Love Story.
So tell me how you came up with that name. I'm curious.
I want to live an epic life, and I love that's legendary. I love epic stories. I love epic poems. I want it to be like a story for the ages, and I think we all deserve that. Yeah. And so we can create that. People ask me all the time if I'll predict the future with my cards, and I say I don't predict the future, I create it. And
ooh, Storm has his cards.
Oh yeah, they're right here. They're always
my gosh! Oh my god!
You want a card, Leah?
I want a card.
Can I pull one for you?
Yeah. I'll pull one for you. Let me ask Jen. Jen, do you want a card pulled?
I'll pull one for Jen.
Two thumbs up. Okay, so we're gonna pull. We're gonna do me first. No, let's do Jen first. Me. Okay. Me, because I'm on the screen already, so we'll go.
Yeah, you. Let's go ahead and do you. Okay, let's. Oh, one just fell out. All right. So this is the Golden Universal deck. So it's shiny. This is the Judgment card. The Judgment card is about rising above. We talk about the glass ceiling. We talk about upper limit problems. This is you rising above those and awakening other people to that as well. I think of Gabriel blowing her horn, or like an alarm clock going off. And it's like, this is the time, the universe has already shifted. The train has already arrived. The bus is here. And it's like, am I getting on, or am I going to deny the call? And with Judgment, the way this fell out, it's not denying the call, accepting the call. So I just see this is also beautiful for you and how the Oracle connects. Like, right, this could be the Oracle. This could be aspects of your personality rising to the call and honoring spirit more and more and more each day. So an affirmation would be, every day I rise to the call of my spirit more and more. I'm getting more and more in touch with it. So if your aperture is already here, the aperture is like widening even more.
I love it. Oh my
beautiful.
God. Thank you so much.
I got chills.
I love it. I'm rising to the call. Yes.
It's like think of the word clarion call comes to mind. A clarion call, a really bright trumpet sounding kind of idea. Yeah.
Well, I'm actually gonna. This is weird, right? I don't know if this is supposed to happen. I'm gonna bring Jen on
Let's
I
do
know it's supposed to happen. It's supposed to happen because we're here and this is
We're
live
doing
TV.
it.
And in live TV, you get to do what
Hi,
you want.
Jen.
Hello,
Hi,
Storm. So
Jen.
nice to meet you.
It's a pleasure. Yeah, I enjoyed listening to you too when I was having my technical gremlins.
I'm so glad the gremlins are gone.
They're gone. Can I pull one? May I pull one for you?
I would be honored. Thank you so much.
Well, this is really interesting. We are not a minor arcana call today. We are a major arcana, which means there's 22 cards in the deck that have their own, I like to say, highlighted or vibration. That's like if you're looking through like a used textbook that someone already took the class before you and they highlighted all the important stuff. I think
That's
the
what
major
the
arcana are kind of like that. Yeah, they're kind of like, that's how I see things. And you got the full card. So there is something about knowing. My coach quotes this a lot, Jesse Korn, about whether Albert Einstein saying that the biggest decision you can make is whether or not the universe has your back or not, whether you believe in a benevolent universe or not. And I'm misquoting it, but the fool here is trusting in the universe that all possibilities are open to them as they take a leap into the unknown. And so people go, oh, it's the fool. He's, I don't want to be foolish. It's like, well, this isn't like that. It's the innocent fool. It's the naivete. It's the belief that no matter what I do, the universe supports me. And the sun, usually the background's yellow and the sun is white, and that's because the sun represents the top of the Kabbalah, the Kether sphere, which is the source of all things. So it's not just the sun shining on him, which is Tifereth, it's more like our solar plexus, it's Kether, which is above. And so its source itself is shining a light on your path, which is as yet unordained. It's up to you. Yeah. So take the leap. Take it. Just know that you got it.
It's time, isn't that? It's exactly what the oracle said to me. Yes. So thank you.
Double confirmation. I think you got it.
I got it.
Yeah.
Thank you, Storm.
Oh my gosh.
Oh, you're so welcome. Thank you for letting me do that. I love that.
That was fun. It was fun. Oh my gosh. Okay.
Yeah, super fun.
Thank you so much, Storm. Thank you, Jen. Oh my goodness. Wow. What a night, guys. Oh, and we have a question. Okay. While we were playing, we got a question. Awesome. Okay. So the question, I have to get these things on. Here we go. Because I'm learning to be okay with this. Okay. Oprah Winfrey wears glasses, by the way. So I'm just going to say it's all good. Okay. So Nika says, question, piggybacking on vulnerability. I find my comfort zone behind the scenes, pushing others to the limelight. But my business now with the magazine is putting myself in the spotlight and sharing my story. I'm telling you, story is the word of the day. How does one work through those fears of being so seen and vulnerable in all my authenticity? Okay, wow. Oh, wow. Okay, great question. I'm going to leave that up for just a second so everybody can see it because it's a long question. First of all, I want to let everybody know. Actually, I'm going to take it down because it's covering my face. I don't think that's kind of weird. Okay, there we go. First, I want to let everybody know that we are accepting guests to this show, and guests are actually choosing the night that they want to be on the show. So one thing, if you want to be a guest, please go to oraclelivetv.com and register. And also, I find it really fascinating when those 3 random or 2 other guests show up and there's this theme that appears. I love that that's how our universe works. And I appreciate that people show up here so clear about wanting to be seen and heard and recognized, and they're open to doing that here. So I don't take that lightly, and I want to make that clear. It's really important to me that our space here allows for people to show up so that they can get the message that they're meant to get. And for Nika, I want to say that it's not an accident that you are where you are and you heard what you heard in regards to the messages that Jen and Storm received. And as far as the component of how one works through fears of being seen and vulnerable. The coach in me wants to say that you get help. I mean, I'm just gonna be honest with you, because it's not always easy to do that for ourselves without support of some kind. So that could be a mentor, that could be a program, that could be a coach, could be any of those things. But the first thing I want to say to you is get support outside to allow you to feel comfortable in a sphere where you can really start to show up a little bit at a time. Also, part of that is that things that come up for us while that's happening, they need a space to be contained and held and supported. So I think that's kind of a dual thing there for you, which is get the help and know that that the journey of being vulnerable and being visible kind of go hand in hand. And in light of this question about your authenticity, and there's this piece where you're being able to shine. I see this part of you as a child. Really, I see a girl twirling in a dress at, it for some reason in a green dress, but whether or not that matters, but twirling and being like visible and bright and shiny, and that level of recognizing, bringing her to the world, her to the limelight, is a way of you really kind of reintegrating a piece of yourself. So the two pieces are get support to really work on the mechanics side of it, and maybe what's rooted and tied up, and know that this is the time for that little person in you to shine. And I really just love this image I'm seeing is this girl just really, like, the sun is coming, and it's like one of those days of spring when you just, there's this effervescent joy. And that is what you standing in your limelight gets to be about too. Like, it's just embracing that joy, that spring fueled, happy, bright joy of beingness that is part of you. And it's been part of you since you were very young. So I know you're here in the post below, and I know we have a little bit of delay, but I'm happy to hear from you back any insight you have as far as that goes, whether that image strikes a chord for you. And in regards to like the support piece, I see for you more support around about how you're showing up in like what you're doing to support yourself as you show up. Love it all, she says. Okay. Just so we're clear. That's Nika's here still. So yeah, I think it's like I'm getting like all these like butterfly, yummy, excited energy in me about it. Like, so that's what I'm getting the sense of. So my encouragement is to stay with that and get support so that you're not, I want to say swept away by it. That's not really exactly the right word, but it's like, there's something about being like carried away by it and not feeling grounded. So there's to get some support from someone to help you hold the grounding and stay in that really bright joy. And there's like a dance to that. So thank you for the question, by the way. I appreciate you being here, at least in the chat log. Just so everybody knows, Nika was supposed to be here. That's what we were talking about, our lovely technical difficulties. But I'm so glad you were here to give us a question and get your question in. I appreciate everybody for being here on the show. I especially like our little impromptu card reading from Storm. That was awesome. And I want to give you guys one final announcement before we go, and that is that I'm actually getting ready to support people myself in the next couple of weeks. I'm actually going to open up a 5-day challenge called the Power Biz Blueprint Challenge, where we're ready to align your business power with your business with its highest power. You'll learn how to create a powerhouse business that flows as it grows in just 5 days for free. It's a completely free challenge. So all you need to do is go to powerbizblueprint.com. And once you do, you can log on, you'll join the Facebook group, we'll get ready, we'll have videos, we'll have tools, we'll have resources. I will be there every day for the full 5 days, so you can ask me questions too. So if you're interested, join me, check out the website. And Thank you again, all of you, for being here. If you want to join us and be a guest on the show for Oracle Live TV, we'd love to have you. You can just go to oraclelivetv.com and click on the link to register. Thanks, everybody, for being here. Thank you again to our guest. Thank you for Nika. And we want to pull a name. Hold on just a second. I know. One more second, if you can wait for me. Ready? Here we go. We're going to find out if we have any insights on this page. We're going to go to the closest one. Whoops. Go this way. Go this way. Hold on. My linking. I didn't see any. Oh, we have no insights. I saw an insight. Oh, nobody wrote insight. I love it. Oh, thank you, Jen. See, that's why we have assistants. They're so helpful. Nika. Nika had insight. Okay, so when you share your story, it no longer has a hold on you. Love this, Storm. Storytelling is so powerful. All right, thank you guys so much. Thank you, Nika. Thank you, Storm. And thank you, Jen. And also, thank you, Jennifer Phillips, for being in the background and taking care of us so well. We appreciate you. Mwah. See you guys next time. Have a good night.